This is the video for the week of October the 15th, and I wanted, we've been looking at the McClellan oscillator for a long time, and the McClellan oscillator pulled back from its overbought position, as you'd expect, as it always does, with the exception back here, where they pull back, but it has risen above. But nonetheless, when it hits that level, it pulls back. We've also this year been tracking the summation index, and I've been plotting it in an Excel spreadsheet versus the SPX, and I've come up with some possibilities that are going to help us determine what's going to happen in the next month or so. So I took a screenshot of this and developed this, where I looked at each valley and how long it took for a valley to predict a drop in the S&P. So here's one area here. Here's a smaller dip that I didn't look at. Here's a big dip here, and this is its subsequent SPX pullback. Didn't really look at this little dip here, but this one led to this pullback. Similarly, this valley led to this pullback. And then I developed these ranges, these boxes showing the distance between the summation index valley and the drop in the S&P. And I took all of those arrows and I brought them up here so that we can compare them and see if there's some similarity. This is an outlier. This is a short one. These two are fairly short, but look here. This one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are pretty similar. So if we took an average of those, and let's say the average is, sorry, and let's say the average is this one right here, and we took that box and we laid it over this valley, okay? Where would our next drop be? Go back to our chart here. Our next drop, could be in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Is it accurate? Is it exact? Not necessarily. But there will be a drop. The summation index, this pullback here, is telling us that there'll be a drop somewhere here. And this is a 1 year that we were looking at. We were looking at from October the 8th of last year to October the 15th of this year. Let's see if that's supported in the charts. In the charts, we're using the Ichimoku trading system. Let's look at the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones, the cloud just lifted itself up over the candle lifted itself up over the cloud after breaking through the 50 and then coming up above it. The Chiku span is above the candles. So the Dow looks like it's headed for some positive movement, but we've always been saying that flat clouds tend to attract candles, so I'm going to say that there will be this pullback where the Chiku span will come back and possibly pull back to this point right here where the 50 and the cloud intersect. That would coincide with a pullback to this flat cloud. Now, does the NASDAQ show us anything? The NASDAQ has been weaker than the Dow, and it's starting to pull back, but it's in the cloud after doing this dance around the 50. The area of resistance now is the Chiku span resisting right up in here on these candles. So next week, here is going to be the resistance, and that coincides with where? Price on the top of the cloud up here. So we've got some resistance at 15,371, which would be roughly about a 50% pullback from this high to this low. Let's look at the S&P, the all-important S&P. Look at where it ended. Let me get this old prediction out of here and look at the Chiku span getting resistance on this candle right here. Not quite that high on Friday. It actually stopped there. But now it's running into this candle. There's a possibility now that the Chiku span could be falling below these candles, which would coincide with the price having difficulty at the top of the cloud. Another sign that there's some possibility of a pullback. And look at this flat cloud up ahead. Now let's look at the volatility index. And the volatility index was following this sloping trend here and has now fallen below that. So there's some complacency. Whenever you have complacency, there's all the more reason to expect a pullback. So I'm not going to look at I'm not going to look at any stocks today. I'm just going to leave it at that I think that the charts and a combination of the charts and the summation index are telling us that sometime before the middle of November, we should have a pretty snap kind of a pullback that might echo this or this, but expect it. I don't expect this going up in the S&P because of what the summation index is telling us, also because of what the McClellan oscillator is telling us, that we're more likely to come back to the neutral line than we are to move higher into the overbought area.